Hello. So I'm taking old 305s or 350 engines that were in my boat. They were carbureted, blocks were cracked, manifolds are cracked. It was just a mess. I decided to go with an LS conversion on this and try it and see how it works out. I like the LS option because I get multi-port fuel injection. I get better efficiency, more torque at the bottom end. So it seemed to make sense for me. I don't like the fuel fumes coming out of the carbs in the bilge. If I smell that, especially while I'm rocking around, it immediately makes me seasick. So there's a lot of advantages to going LS, and one is everything's really cheap, and the second reason is Crusader had an LS 6.0 in their boats for a while, and these are 5.3s. And so they have the manifolds, the risers, everything already made for a boat application in LS. So what I'm going to do is I've got one here that's halfway together. This one's fully together. Reason for that is I can't shoehorn both engines complete into the boat. So I'm going to put this one in first and this one in second, and then I have to finish the assembly on this one while it's in the boat. So I'll show you a few things that I've done. Thanks, honey. So a few things here is I had all of the water lines and everything hooked up for just raw water to go through the engine. But when I had it all hooked up and ready to go, it looked like I was only a few lines away from going to like a closed loop system. So the way this works is seawater comes in through here, goes through this assembly, a series of tubes, and then comes out of this hose here, and then the coolant comes in through here and out of the bottom down here. And so that way you can actually run coolant in the engine and I don't have to worry about them freezing again. With coolant in there, it could be in there year round, it's very low maintenance, it won't corrode and kill the engine in time. So that was a nice touch. These manifolds from Crusader for the 6-liter, they fit the 5.3 of course, and I absolutely love them. They're very well made, very smooth runners inside. It's not huge, but you know, I'm not looking to break any records as far as speed is on this thing. I just wanted something reliable that's like factory. You know, I want this to be nice and quiet and do what it's supposed to do for a long time. I had to make some brackets for the coils that I mounted straight to the block here, and in order to use the short plug wires I had to have them configured this way. You know, obviously with the manifold, everything coming out of the top, but you can't have it on the valve cover anymore. You got to have it down here. The mounts are just LS, like 350 to LS adapter plates that you can get for, like, you know, if you want to convert your 350 Camaro or something to an LS, it's the exact same thing. So that's what I have for the mounts in the boat as well. As far as the flywheel and everything is concerned, I got the flywheel from AutoZone for only $100, and they, for a while they had a I think it was maybe a 4.8 or 5.3. They had a Sierra that was manual, and this flywheel fits the LS perfectly. The starter, the LS starter and everything, all that stuff fits that manual transmission flywheel perfect. You know, same with the output assembly here that goes to the drive. It all bolts in there like it was made for it. It's crazy. So as you can see, here's the riser on this one. You know, it kind of looks like a rat's nest right now. It'll clean up when it's in the boat, but I got a lot of stuff kind of wrapped up on the top here and everything. I'm using a Holley kit for the fuel injection on all this stuff. I tried to hide the wiring and everything under everything the best I could, but as you can see, it's kind of hard to do. Let's see, what else here? Oh, these power steering coolers. You can get these really cheap on eBay. My boat already had two when it only needed one because it only has one power steering system on it. So this one right here, I'm using as the fuel injection return line to keep the fuel cool in the tank, so I don't have any like vapor lock issues or anything. I'm trying to keep everything nice and cool in the bilge and in the fuel tank of the boat. And then the one back here, this cooler is the standard power steering cooler. So let's see, here is the boat harness, and I only had to splice a few things in, a shrink tube it and everything, from the boat harness to the LS Holly harness. So that was pretty easy. So I doubled up on the sensors. Like this is a factory sensor for the boat, so the boat gauge sees oil pressure. This gauge back here, or this sensor back here, is coolant for the Holly, but this one over here is coolant for the boat. So Holly will read everything correctly, and the boat instrument cluster will also read correctly. If we go over to this one that's only partially done, you can probably see more of what I did a little bit better. So, brackets for the coils, I mean, they're not going anywhere. You can see the adapter plate for the mount. And here's the additional cooler I bought for this engine. Since it doesn't have power steering on this one runs fuel injection return as well. I figure with 2 of these coolers, cooling the return side, using fresh water to cool the return side back into the tank, it should keep things pretty cool. Go around to this side. Kind of see what it looks like without all that. I just looped this. I had, I think it was like 150 or 160 degree thermostats in here for raw water. I had to change them back out to the 195s. So did all that too. And there's a sensor from Holly and everything I had to put in there. So this engine here, so this was the second one I did. On this first one, it came with the original LS alternator, and I just wired everything in so it'll work on the boat with the original alternator. This engine didn't come with the original alternator, so I put the original 350 or 305 boat alternator on this one. I made a little bracket for it, and I found this pulley online. I can't believe somebody actually sells a serpentine belt pulley to run this on there, so that turned out to be pretty slick. So if any of these fail, I still got another one of these from the other original engine that I could use as an alternator. So I'll show you some of the stuff here, all of this. So here's the manifold, and you can't really see much. It's kind of dark in here, but it's really well done. I mean, it's a beautiful piece. And the riser is a little restrictive, but it's also very smooth and well done. So the water comes in from the sides here, and it's actually hollow inside this unit. So this is where the water comes in and flows out here to keep this whole thing cool. Because you don't want a hot manifold in the bilge of your boat. I notice a lot of LS people, when they put LSs in their boats, they just have a straight through exhaust coming right out the back, out the transom area. And I didn't want to do that. I want this to come out, down under the boat, just like factory, because it's nice and quiet. It seems to just be a safer and better setup. I want the boat to be, like factory configuration when I'm on the water. Here is the flywheel I got. I didn't put it on the second motor yet, but yeah, I just coated it so it wouldn't rust, and it'll fit everything on the back end without issue. So I think that's about it. So the reason I don't have the riser on this side is Crusader also sells a spacer that goes on here between the manifold and the riser. And I bought that spacer, and I'm modifying that spacer in a weird way on my CNC to fit the wideband O2 in it. So it can get a nice even reading from all 4 ports here on one band, because it only uses one O2 on this Holly system. And that way I can get it to read well. And I'm hoping that it'll be far enough down the line here with the riser coming all the way up out this way that it won't won't kill the O2 with the steam from the water. It's going to be down here in the manifold area, so I'm hoping that'll work out. I think that's about it. All the manifolds, I tapped into them and put drains. I even have a drain on this guy. So whenever I pull the boat out of water, all I have to do is open up each one individually. So this is the heat exchanger, and these are all manifolds. I open each one individually so I can make sure that each one drains and none of them are plugged up, so I'm absolutely sure to have all the water out of this. I think one of the reasons the boat had the failure to begin with is because there's no easy way to drain this stuff. You had to pull each plug individually, and that's just so stupid. So I didn't want a single manifold for this, because then if one of them's plugged up, you'd never know, and you still end up with a cracked manifold. So I did that. As far as the heat exchanger goes, I got these off eBay real cheap, and you know, this one's from shipping damage. The guy didn't have any packing on it, but it was all beat up. I wire wheeled it and clear coated it. I thought it looked pretty cool in the copper color, and I had to redo all this. The guy, I just don't understand boating people, man. This guy had like JB Weld all around this to hold his cap on. It's just ridiculous. So he shaved all that off and soldered it. And I made this piece here, it's quite a bit larger, to fit the inlet bigger for the LS. And then I pinched this one off. And these two lines go to the top of the block over here, like where it feeds off the top of the heads. So those, I think in an application like a boating application, it's pretty important not to block those off and allow any air that develops in the head to push out. And by having the lines come over here, into, you know, back into the reservoir here, the coolant can push the air out, come through the line and into the reservoir, so that way you don't have any hot spots in the heads, because as you know, in a boating application you could be sitting at like 4,000 RPM for hours, and I don't want it to, you know, it's fine for road use to block them off, but when you're on the water with the amount of abuse this thing's going to see, I really wanted to make sure that that stuff stayed pretty happy in there and didn't overheat. On this one, you can see the cross tube here and where I plumbed into it. I had to go to the junkyard and find a couple more of these because they only come with one from the factory. I wanted to put one in the front and one in the back. So there's that one. So that should keep things happy. And this other heat exchanger was in much better condition when I got it. I polished it up too, and you can see the holes in there from, you know, the coolant comes in on the bottom side down there, comes up through these tubes here, turns around, goes in these, so comes out here, in here, goes over the other side, goes in here, out here, and then out the top on the other end. So they're pretty neat. And this one looked like it was in nice shape. It was leaking all through here, leaking through this fitting here. It was leaking everywhere. And this part here was plugged up, so it could never be drained. And this whole area in here was completely plugged up with all kinds of stuff from the ocean. So yeah, I just don't get the, you know, people wonder why their boats fail. Jeez, man. I mean, it's like that thing's never been attended to or cleaned up or anything. And these are the brackets I made to mount the heat exchanger on the front of the engine. So I'll show you how I did that. So it's real simple. You know, I just took a pretty large piece of 6061 aluminum. You can get them off eBay for nothing. I just TIG welded all this stuff together here. This piece for added support. This is bolts in here, and then I ran it around this way. I do have felt pads on this to protect it a little bit. It's a pretty tight fit. It's not going anywhere, but I'll keep an eye on that. If they start to wear and it looks like it might damage this, I might have to use like I might have to change this and use a solid piece of rubber through there or something. But this piece was a lot easier. I don't like that I screwed up here, but you know, it'll get the job done. There's another bolt that goes in here, but I'm gonna wait till I get it in the boat for that. And yeah, so that's about it. So it was actually pretty straightforward, but when you're looking for all the parts, and you know, there's not too many people out there that really share or tell you anything about this stuff, it's actually it's kind of difficult to figure out everything you need. I mean, I've never done an LS swap on a car before, so to do it on the boat took quite a bit of learning. But like I said, it's kind of a rat's nest. I'll do another video when they're in the boat and everything starts to come together. So looking forward to it. I spent all last weekend polishing the boat, so it's all happy now and it's ready to kick some ass. It's got a fly bridge on the top, nice bridge on the inside, lounge on the inside, outside. Should be pretty awesome. I mean, it's not going to break any speed records or anything, and I didn't set this up for that or have a pair of